Twitter says it's overcounted its user over the past 3 years by as much as 1.9 million. Twitter didn't have as many users as it thought, a predicament that may have encouraged the company to more seriously consider its acceptance of Elon Musk's proposal to take the company private in a $44 billion deal. According to Twitter Q1 2022 earnings out this morning, the company admitted it has been overcounted the number of users it had itself for at least 3 years due to a technical error involving a linked account. In its earnings release, Twitter explained that it launched an account linking features in March 2019, which allow users to with more than one Twitter account to link them together in its user interface, allowing them to more easily switch between their different identities. Those multiple accounts belong to a single person clearly, but continue to be counted as separate MDAUs or monetizable daily active users. The MDAUs metric was already a self-invented and non-standard way of measuring users on the service. Twitter came up with the idea after struggling to show growth through measurement of monthly active users on a quarterly basis. Instead, it said that the MDAU metric would represent users who logged in and accessed Twitter on any given day through its website and application, and who were able to view its ads. It noted, however, that the metric would not be comparable to similar daily active users disclosures from other companies, as they would often use a more expensive metric that include users who are not seeing ads. This metric was meant to give advertisers a better idea of how many people on Twitter were eligible to be targeted with their marketing messages within a given time frame. And since advertising continues to fuel Twitter's business, accounting for a majority of its revenue, it was an important metric in terms of Twitter health. Unfortunately, it was wrong. Twitter says it rerun the number of MDAUs metric for the past quarters, where it had found it had been overcounting and adjusting the total. Its finding indicated it was overstating MDAUs by anywhere from 1.4 million to as much as 1.9 million, depending on the quarter. The company noted the recast data was not available prior to Q4 2020 due to its data retention policies, but said its estimates suggest that prior period adjustment would not be greater than those seen in Q4 of 2020. These are some stats, as you can see, in US, international and globally. Previous reported MDAUs and difference. So you can stop the video to see this chart. As you can tell that by the chart, as Twitter overall user base slowly grew, so did the our counting, ending with an our statement of nearly 2 million users. Our 2 million more MDAUs than the company actually had. Such an adjustable would barely be a blip of the river. Social network like Facebook. Meta just reported its family of applications saw 2.87 billion users in Q1 of 2022, for example, and Facebook alone saw 1.96 billion. But it does matter more on a service as small as Twitter, which has historically struggled with flat user growth. In fact, user growth had been such a thorn in its side that it had invented the new metric to better hide its issues in the first place. Despite the adjustment, Twitter ended the quarter with a presumable now accurately 229 million MDAUs, up 15.9 from the same time last year, and topping analysis estimate of 226.9 million. However, the company had set a lofty goals of reaching 315 million MDAUs by 2020, alongside with doubling the revenue. That MDAU goal would have representing a roughly 20% compound annual growth rate from its base of 152 million MDAUs reported in Q4 of 2019. Twitter believed it could get there by way of its new product development, many of which were monetizable, like a Super Follow subscription, ticket to Super Spaces, and the premium subscription service. Twitter blew, but it's clear Twitter still had far to go to make those investments pay off, not only in dollars and clients but also attractive new customers to the network. This is not the first time Twitter reported erroneous metric around users, but it is the first time it impacted Twitter since the switch to the MDUs. The company in quarter third of 2017 admitted it has overcounted its MDUs by 1 to 2 million at a time when its MAU base was over 300 million. The error could put Twitter in even a more precautionary situation with regard to its advertiser. Elon Musk has been preaching a plan to embrace a free speech policy on Twitter, which often means a more permissible attitude toward abuse, bullying, and hate speech. That's not something brands want to market themselves against. There are signs that advertisers are nervous too. Ad Age reported the immediate reactions from advertisers was one of anxiety and confusion. Brands were reaching out to agencies to help them understand and prepare for what comes next at Twitter. One agency's executive says there was also signals that advertisers are prepared to stop spending after Musk take over if needed be. Twitter in response emailed advertiser insisting that it will remain a self-paced for brands after the Musk takeover. The FT report it had heard similar concerns from advertisers who were talking of wait and see approach for now before adjusting their budgets. One group of advertisers is more worried, however. Automakers, they fear their marketing campaign will now leak to their rival Tesla, which Musk also heads. CEO of EV makers Henrik Fiskars already deleted his Twitter account, for instance. Despite Twitter assurance it's a promise, advertisers know it can't really keep up. Musk decide to make more radical change for a company as dependent on advertiser revenue as Twitter currently is. It's a wonder why they would agree to a deal that puts a free speech absolutions in charge. Twitter miscounting of users helped in part to explain why it took the deal, because the growth it believed it had achieved was smaller than it thought. That's it. Thank you for watching our video. Make sure to subscribe to our channel and also press the bell icon so you will never miss another update.